Hi guys, you're welcome to Reviews and Recaps. It's your girl A. Let's get into it. So, ready to love. What did you guys think of this episode? I think for me, I was like, okay, the ending part of the episode was given what it needed to give. Like, I was like, yes, honey, like, I'm so here for it. Anyways, so the episode started with a public elimination. Sabrina was in charge of calling out the guys who were in the bottom. So Sabrina called out Paul and Tori and was basically saying that, Tori from day one sort of had, zeroed in on his connections. And essentially the ladies felt like they didn't get enough time to get to know him. And, isn't that just awkward considering Sabrina was the girl that he zeroed in on the whole time? Anyways, Tori was eliminated. I'm sure you guys are not surprised. I'm surprised he's lasted this long on the show, if I'm being honest. I thought he was going to have been eliminated from like day one. Anyway, so then Demetrius and Sabrina had their own little moment on the side. This is what I don't understand. Why is it that Demetrius has never been in the bottom? I'm very curious because I think the only person Demetrius has had a connection with from day one is Sabrina. I have never seen his interactions with the other ladies rather. I do wonder, is it that he has other connections but we don't know about it? Because I think I would have expected him to have been voted to the bottom at some point, but it seems like he's sort of gotten away with that. So let me know in the comment section if you think he has any connections with anyone else that we haven't seen yet, or why do you think he's still on the show at the stage? Anyways, Demetrius and Sabrina were having their own little conversation on the side. The ladies were like staring at them because you could pretty much just tell that there was some tension there. Anyway, so Demetrius was basically saying that, he wants to continue with Sabrina after this process. And Sabrina was like, we need to be more proactive with each other, blah, blah, blah. We have to make sure we can fine tune it. Demetrius said that, they could. And one thing I got from the conversation was it seems like Demetrius is not putting in any effort and Sabrina is fed up of it. It's almost like Sabrina is like, guy, put in more effort. You're being too lax and not being proactive. If it is me you want, then let me know that it is me you want. But then I also understand from Demetrius's perspective, he's like, Tori gave you all of that and you still went ahead and chose me. So, and bear in mind that even from day one, Demetrius wasn't really putting in any effort with Sabrina that we could see anyway. So it's like, you ain't putting that much effort. If I was Demetrius, I'd be thinking, I didn't put that much effort. I bagged you. And then you expect me to still put in effort. It's like people like to, I personally think, right? If you pursued her and, putting that much effort at the start, then to an extent that you still need to put in some more to keep her. But if you did the barest minimum at the start and that was enough for her to choose you, then what is the incentive to do a little bit more? I'm just saying. Demetrius basically said that, after the process and, once they have chosen each other, then he is going to be putting 100%. Now, I don't agree with that. The reason I say that is, how am I going to know that you'll put in 100% if I cannot see you putting in 100% before we actually get into a relationship? It's like, I don't know what to expect. And that will cause me cause for concern, so I understand both people's perspectives in that sense, but I think in a way, Sabrina also, I don't think she knows what she wants, but we'll talk about that in a little bit of detail at the end. Demetrius made a really important point. He said he doesn't give people 100% if he feels like they have other connections with other people. And I'm like, okay, fair enough. But at least give her more than what you're giving. You're giving the absolute barest minimum. I've not seen you do anything since this whole thing started. So I don't know what's going on there. Anyways, then fast forward to Donovan and Carmen. They were in the hot tub together. There was, just Carmen lay her body next to Donovan, and it was just oozing a lot of sexual tension. Carmen was basically saying to Donovan that she wanted to focus on more of her connection with him. And I was like, okay. And I was looking and just staring at them, and I could see his lips on her back. I'm like, okay, girl. Okay, all right, Donovan. Like, okay. You guys just get a room at this point, And so Carmen essentially wants to be at the end with Donovan, just together at the end. So I was like, okay, cool. Well, I guess you guys have chosen each other. So let's see what's next. And then so on the couch, Dakia and Clifton had time to just sit down and chat. And, Clifton basically said to Dakia that he hasn't had time to sit down with her. And Dakia was like, I can see that. You and Joy's connection is strong, blah, blah, blah. And they just sort of talked about the fact that, Dakia could see their connection being strong and focused and all of that. But then on the other hand, Dakia expected Clifton to have a little bit more grace and consideration for her feelings, which he did not do. If I'm being honest, if I have an attraction or connection with two people, and they're both there, I would try to maintain a level of respect. I would try to give both parties some attention. Even if it's not equal, I'll try to give some attention. At least plan a dinner date with Dakia. You did nothing. With Joy, you did everything. And, it's like telling her I've chosen without choosing. And I just don't think that's right. I think he should have pulled Dakia to the side to have a little chat with her. Like, girl, I'm sure you've noticed, I'm really feeling Joy. I think she's my strongest connection. I want to really explore how this goes, and focusing on that. But instead, it seemed that he did nothing. He said nothing and practically ignored her the whole time. I was doing lovey-dovey with Joy. That's not right. For me, I loved how Dakia was open and vulnerable and, expressed how she felt. And despite liking him, essentially she sees their connection is stronger. So, it is what it is. And she shed a little tear. I was like, oh, my baby Dakia. I just wanted to give her a hug. Bless her. But I loved how vulnerable she was, and she handled it like a champ. There was no back and forth negativity or anything. It was like, this is what it is, and it's cool, So after that, Clifton ran over to the tub to meet Joy. Of course, his energy was a bit different because it was coming from the conversation with Dakia. And Joy was like trying to find out, what was going on, as long as he was good, which I'm sure he was. Well, which he said he was, essentially. And they were all in the tub. So it was Clifton, Joy, Sabrina, and Demetrius. Demetrius was all upon, Sabrina a little bit in the tub, which I think she liked because she felt like that was the first time she was getting a little bit more from Demetrius, right? Eventually, then Joy was basically saying to Sabrina, like, oh, nibble on his ear like you did initially, or something along those lines. And I'm like, Joy, leave it. And Clifton did say to leave it as well. Anyways, guess who walked in? Literally, guess who walked in? The guys were like rounding up, getting ready to leave the trip, from the trip. And guess who walked in? Tina. Like, Tina, you should have stayed your ass home. Like, there was no reason for you to turn up. You should have just stayed at home. It just doesn't make any sense. She walked in at the end of the trip, and I'm just thinking, why, sis? Like, don't do that. You should have just missed the whole trip. And then you could have come up with whatever excuse you wanted to come up with. But coming at the end of the trip just does not speak very well of you, sis. It just doesn't. Anyways, Tina walks in. She's like, I really feel like I missed everything. Donovan was like, yes. I'm like, okay, Donovan. Like, a little bit spicy, but okay. And then he was basically saying to her, like, we're on the way out of the door, and then he showed up. And I'm like, ooh, okay, Donovan. Donovan was, like, not having any of it. Anyways, Tina and Donovan decided to go upstairs to speak privately. And Donovan was basically saying that, she isn't in good standing with the guys, and he was trying to figure out where her head was at, but she just kept it very vague, wasn't really expressing anything. She was very closed up. I personally think something happened that Tina is not sharing. I just don't think that someone would just check out and then decide to show up at the end of the trip and then cannot bring herself to open up about what's going on. I think something is going on. And she just couldn't say it. So he was basically to her like, why are you here? And she couldn't even respond. I think she says she should have missed the whole trip. But you live and you learn, hun. Like, next time, just don't show up, okay? And just let them know you're not coming. It's only right, babes. Anyways, Tina went outside to get some air. Guess who decided to come talk to her? Miss Cameluna. Carmen decided to come outside and talk to her. And, Tina was basically saying to Carmen that she doesn't feel like she really has a connection, with anyone enough to stay. The only person she really had a connection with is Donovan, but she doesn't feel like she has the connection strong enough for her to stay. And I'm like, okay, Sherlock, like, you're right. You didn't come to the trip to make those necessary connections. I personally think that Donovan already sensed that Sabrina wasn't going to choose him, right? So he started leaning towards whoever would have come. I think if Tina had showed up, then Donovan would have probably chosen Tina over Carmen. But because Tina wasn't present, then Carmen was the next best option. I personally think that's what I think, okay? And so what I thought was interesting was Carmen coming to speak to Tina. I'm like, I don't know where this is coming from. Like, the way Carmen has been from day one, it just comes across as competition. It's like she's trying to see, whether or not there's still something that she needs to disrupt between Tina and Donovan. That's what I thought anyway. But what do you guys think? Like, are you guys falling for Carmen being the sweet person that went to check up on Tina outside? I just don't get that vibe. So if you guys disagree with me, that's fine, but let me know in the comment section below. Anyways, so next thing was Paul and Dakia went on a date, and Paul was like, who should I thank for the privilege of your beauty? I'm like, Paul, that is so cheesy. Like, what is going on? I don't know. I really don't like those sorts of cheesy lines. It does nothing for me. Yeah, not a fan. But anyways, if Dakia likes it, then sure, But it sounded like they had a good talk, really honest talk about like their connections with everyone, how Dakia felt that certain connections she had did not protect her heart. And I'm like, sis, I can imagine. Oh, sorry, I'm about to sneeze. Sorry, guys. She basically felt like, the connection she had did not protect her heart. I'm sure first it started with Eric, the guy that she really liked, and, he did what he did. And then to then proceed to Clifton, I can imagine how she felt, honestly. But one thing Paul did say was, Dakia is a total package and she's a stand-up, powerful Black woman, Black queen. I better get it right. Which I really loved. I think he is definitely good at affirming her. And I think Dakia is probably in a vulnerable place at the moment because I think she really liked Eric, then she really liked Clifton. And it just seems like she's been on a roller coaster ride since Ready to Love. So I think that, I really feel like they're sort of in a place where they might be able to progress this journey together. I haven't seen chemistry between them, but chemistry can be built up on, to be honest. So yeah. Anyways, on the other end, Clifton and Joy were having a date. Guys, is it just me or Miss Joy loves her casual fits? I was like, girl, wear something, like dress up a little bit, but I guess not, Clifton proceeded to tell her that he has tunnel vision now, pretty much just looking onto her. Clifton was basically saying that, Joy completes the sentences, there's chemistry, blah, blah, blah. They were just fawning over each other. Now, my 2 cents about this is I know everyone seems to be like, oh my God, I love Joy and Clifton. I don't. I love them separately, but I don't think they're gonna last. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I just feel like I never really hear any depth to their conversations. It always seems to be very surface level, very, oh my God, we're fawning over each other, we're complete. Like, anyone can complete your sentences, honey. Like, stop. So I don't really see it, but who knows? I hope I'm wrong, so that, they can go on into the sunset together. But yeah, I wouldn't bite my tongue on that. What do you guys think? Do you guys think they're actually a solid couple? I think compared to everyone else, they seem to have something going on. But I still don't think they're a solid couple, in my opinion. If you disagree with me, like I always say, that's fine. Let me know in the comment section below. So there was a group hangout with Tommy, and Tommy was trying to find out from the guys, how has their trips been? How was the holiday, the little weekend getaway? And the guys started speaking up. So essentially, nephew Tommy was like, did Tina show up? Donovan was like, yeah, she showed up right at the end. Donovan, spicy as usual, was not having any of it. I'm like, all right, Donovan, like, yeah, I hear you. I hear your disapproval, but it is what it is. Like, get over it at this point, okay? Then Tommy proceeded to ask Joy how things going. She's like, things are good and stuff. They have things they're sorting out. They've discussed previously. They talked about Clifton's trust issues, and all of that, right? Next thing, so Paul was talking about his connections with Carmen and Dakia. And Paul mentioned that he feels like with Carmen, she was always interested in finding out about his connections with other women, and which just made him feel like he was being sized, which I completely agree. I'm just like, it sounds like, she is always like asking about connections because for her it's a competition. So essentially that's what I think, right? So anyways, he basically proceeded to tell, Carmen, actually, let me clarify, proceeded to tell everyone, she decided to tell the whole class that Paul was talking shit about Mr. Kia. So this is Carmen. He had a date and I was asking, how did it go? And he was like, I'm like, huh? He was like, I need to be with certain women that looks a certain way. I don't want to think about how I would get aroused. Something along those lines, okay? Paul was like, bullshit. I didn't say that. Don't worry about what's going on here. I'm just thinking, what the hell? So now you're practically bringing that up to insult and make Mr. Kia feel some type of way. Dakia, my woman, class act, she was like, may I say something? I'm like, okay, Dakia, school her. She's like, I believe Paul when it comes to Carmen. I'm like, yes, honey. I don't trust the word that Carmen says. Well, that's what I said. But what she said was basically she doesn't trust the word that comes out of Carmen's mouth. And Dakia was basically saying that, from the moment she got there, Carmen was always trying to spin things a certain way. And then proceeded to say, like, sexy does not have to be on display. Classy will never go out of style. I'm like, yes, honey, yes. Yes. Carmen, Miss Booty, decided to say, if you ain't got it, you can't post it out. I'm like, okay, Carmen, hold up. Says, hold up. Dakia said natural versus purchased. Man, that killed it. I think it was like just shots fired. It's like, ooh, girl, Guys, is it just me or I watched the exchange so many times? Like I kept going back to watch it. I was like, who won? Dakia, when I say she killed it with the natural versus purchased, that was it. It was like a drops mic moment. It was like, oop, honey. Did you guys see Donovan's face through it all? Donovan was just looking like, what the hell is going on here? Anyways, let me know what you guys think about the exchange. I thought it was hilarious. I thought it was essential because without that, I don't think we would have had much excitement on this episode. So I definitely think that was the highlight of this episode for me. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Anyway, so it was Sabrina's turn. Sabrina was talking about her connections with Donovan and Demetrius. Now, she was saying with Donovan, she is concerned as to whether or not he's at a point where he's ready for a relationship and, and stuff like that. And then with Demetrius, she was talking about her concern regarding what his friend said about the submissive thing. It sounds like even on that day, she still wasn't ready to choose. She still wanted to keep both of them in limbo. And Donovan did not like it. Donovan basically said that he feels like, if she had issues and they talked about it, that should have been the end of it. He doesn't understand why she's still bringing it up. And essentially, Donovan decided to share something with the class and basically say that off camera, Sabrina snapped at him and said that he could go home like the last one. Guys, do you guys really believe this? I don't think I do. I think that if it was said in a joking manner. I don't think it was said in the way in which Donovan decided to portray it. Looking at it now, I think Donovan and Carmen are a good fit, so they can stay, so the rest of the world can stay the hell away from both of them. I feel like when they feel like they're backed to the corner, they would say anything they need to say to get out of that corner, and that's a really negative trait, I think. I personally don't think Sabrina, if she said it in that way. I just don't get the vibe that she would say it in that way. Of course, she denied it. Who do you think is telling the truth? Do you believe Donovan or do you believe Sabrina? Let me know in the comment section below. And side notes, did you see that Tommy was trying to see Tina to sit down with her and have a chat with her, and she stood Tommy up? Like, no. Don't fumble your bag like that, Tina. Don't you ever do that. It's not right. It isn't. Even if you can't show up to places, send a message and just say, I'm so sorry, I can't make it. It's not right. It's piss take. Anyways, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you like this episode, please give it a thumbs up and please share with your friends and family. Let's get my subscriber count up by subscribing and tapping that bell for notifications so you know every single time I post. And see you guys later. Bye.